After Florida, what next?
A poll of swing states shows that Mitt Romney has some big strengths and a big weakness.
I'm Frank Newport, Gallup Editor-in-Chief.
I'm Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today.
And this is Election Matters. Well, Susan, Florida, could it make a difference in the big picture race? Let's assume for the moment that Mitt Romney wins, because he's ahead in all the polls. That's a logical assumption, although we'll wait and see what happens. He will want to claim, hey, that's it. You know, I'm ahead, I'm winning, let's focus on Obama. But his opponents aren't going to let him get away with that, are they?
You know, a big Florida win will definitely put him back on track. You know, just 10 days ago, he got upended in the South Carolina primary. Let's not forget what a big setback that was. So this amounts to a comeback on his part. But Newt Gingrich says he's in this to the convention. So does Rick Santorum. So does Ron Paul. So while a Florida win is a big thing for Romney, it doesn't put this race to bed. You
know, Newt Gingrich has been talking about the national polls. And of course, you've noted that over the years, politicians, this is shocking, will pick and choose the polls that make them look best. He's behind, Newt Gingrich has been behind in Florida. So he has said, oh, but look at the national polls. I'm ahead in the national poll. And that includes our Gallup poll tracking. And he has been ahead, although now it's down to a dead even. So Romney's caught back up with him on the national poll. But it's possible that Romney could go further ahead after Florida if Romney wins, because nationally people will pick up on that and maybe move more in his direction.
Yeah, and of course we saw Newt Gingrich's surge came after a good debate performance in South Carolina, followed by a big victory there. That effect is now fading away, especially if he loses, and by a significant margin in Florida, as the polls are now indicating.
And the next debate is?
Not until the 22nd of February.
A virtual lifetime.
So one of the things that has really fueled Newt Gingrich's campaign, he's not going to have that opportunity for a couple weeks.
Now, these Republicans are vying to, of course, go against Barack Obama. Our USA Today Gallup swing states poll and also a national poll, we did both simultaneously, shows Mitt Romney and Obama neck and neck, tied. But Gingrich way behind, and that's a change. So all of a sudden, Romney's people can probably say, look at the polling. We are more electable than Newt Gingrich.
And of course, we know that the question of electability has been a critical one for Republicans of all stripes. Some Republicans more liberal, some more conservative, some like the Tea Party, some don't. They all want to beat Barack Obama. And the candidate who can claim to be better able to do that has a big leg up.
Yeah, Gingrich did a lot better when we last did our swing states poll and national polling, but he really fell. It looks like he fell in some key groups, right, among Republicans.
He did. He lost among by double digits in support against Barack Obama among independents, among white voters, among married people. These are some groups that are critical for a Republican to get if he's going to win a national race. And Gingrich, the assault on Gingrich's character and his record by Mitt Romney and others has really taken a toll.
Yeah, our positive intensity data that we put out just a bit ago showed that he had a much worse image nationally than Mitt Romney, which goes along with this same kind of finding. Other polls have shown the same thing. Gingrich's image, of course, was crafted way back when it was negative in the 90s, and now that's kind of been resurrected by the Romney people. So you certainly have to say, when you look at Americans as a whole, Gingrich has a worse image than Mitt Romney, and of course the Romney people are going to try to play off that.
But of course, before you get to a general election, you have to win the nomination. That's with a different group of voters. And while Mitt Romney has had the establishment, Republican establishment coalesce behind him, Newt Gingrich has gotten embraces from people like Herman Cain and Rick Perry, and even from Sarah Palin.
She's jumped into the fray.
She hasn't endorsed him, but she's said that she's basically encouraged people to vote for him to keep this race going on. So we'll see what kind of effect these very conservative leaders have on their voters.
You know, our polling that we did tested Gingrich against Romney on some dimensions, both in swing states and nationally. And I thought it shows Mitt Romney, as you said, has some strengths. And he also has some weaknesses.
Yeah. Some big strengths. On the question of leadership, the leadership qualities the president should have, he does really well. 6 out of 10 Americans in the swing states say he has those qualities. But you know, there's a quality on which he and Newt Gingrich share a weakness, and that is understands the problems of people like me. 44% of those we surveyed in the swing states said that either one of them had those qualities. That is a vulnerability for a candidate who has been battling the perception that he's one of the 1%, that he's a really rich guy who may not know what your life is like.
Yeah, and that, of course, is going to be one of the major points that Obama is going to make. So if Romney is the nominee, these data already say that that's going to be an issue. Right? Obama's the populist, saying, I feel your pain. If he borrows that from Bill Clinton, I know what the problems are, the middle class, the working class. Romney's part of the elite, and already the people are saying, yeah, we're not sure he understands the feelings about us working people, even though, of course, he claims, Mitt Romney, that he started out with no inherited money, right? He said, I earned it all.
But, you know, if his response is going to be, I think, I'm a leader, I understand how the economy works. You may like Barack Obama, but he hasn't led the economy in a good way. That is a powerful argument to make for Americans who are feeling a little better about the economy, but are still struggling with things like high unemployment.
By the way, enthusiasm, we measured enthusiasm in this. The question was, how enthusiastic are you about voting in November's election? And, just like we saw in 2010, Republicans still had the edge at this point, and that could be critical as well.
And this is a challenge, I think, for Barack Obama. In the swing states, 35% of Republicans were extremely enthusiastic, the highest category. 23% of Democrats. That's a real enthusiasm gap. 4 years ago, that was reversed. Democrats were a lot more enthusiastic than Republicans. If you want to get some unreliable voters out, like young people, for instance, a lot of Hispanic voters, the Obama campaign is going to need to generate more enthusiasm.
Which, of course, they're trying to do at this point. Obama's going to be affected by the economy. We've all looked at that. In fact, some political scientists say all that really matters is how the economy is doing for Obama. This Friday, the government will report unemployment numbers. We here at Gallup think that they'll be steady at a good number, you know, the mid-8 range, or maybe even a little improved. So that's got to continue to be good news for Obama. If unemployment stays the same or actually goes down a little more.
You know, 8.5% unemployment is a pretty high rate for a president running for re-election. But as you say, social scientists say what's most important is not only the level but the direction it's going. So if it continues to go down, that would be good for Barack Obama. If it doesn't, or if it even edges up a bit, that would be the worst possible news for the president.
And that's Friday. Saturday, there's still more voting, right? Which
yes.
is in the wonderful state of Nevada.
That's
caucuses?
Right. The Nevada caucuses, which were important last time. They're kind of a new addition to the early calendar. It was a good state for Mitt Romney 4 years ago. It was one of 2 states he won.
Now, we were talking about this before we started taping this, but our data show that, and this is the most interesting finding of the week, I think, 5% of Nevadans in general, of all political persuasions, are Mormons. Of course, it's contiguous to Utah, at least a little contiguous there. Utah has 60% Mormon. But you're saying some of the historic data shows that in these caucuses, the Mormons can really swamp the voting, right?
Well, if you look at the entrance polls that were done at the Nevada caucuses 4 years ago, 25% of Republican caucus goers were Mormons.
In a state where only 5% are Mormon.
And by 9-1, they voted for Mitt Romney. So you assume that Mitt Romney was a real pride in Mitt Romney and the first Mormon who may be able to win the nomination. I think probably a motivating factor for some of those voters. And the Romney people have done a lot of organizing in Nevada, but I would say also the Ron Paul people have been there as well.
Well, that'll be interesting. Once Florida's over, we'll see what happens there. By the way, Mormons in Florida, 0.6%, very, very few of them down there. And if Romney wins there, obviously he doesn't need a strong Mormon population to win. That's it. We'll be back next week, and we can talk about what happened in both Florida and Nevada. I'm Frank Newport, Gallup Editor-in-Chief.
I'm Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today.
And this is Election Matters.